Hello, good afternoon everyone. So second day at the GMR Aerocity D2C Fest, celebrating life offline. So as we start with the first panel today for the fest for the day, so our topic is scaling it right, the pursuit to profitability. But before I start, please give a warm welcome to our panelists. Please, थोड़ी सी तालियां बज सकती है? Thank you. So firstly, welcome to all of you. So you all are experts in your own areas. So I am here to ask you a lot of questions, trying to understand the basics as well as the expert idea of how a business works. So starting with my first question, when we talk about profitability, actually before I start, I would like you all to give a quick introduction of yourselves. Apurv, if we start with you.
Hi, I'm Apurv. I head the marketing and sales function at Fool, part of the founding team. Happy to be here.
Malvika.
Hi, I'm Malvika. I'm the founder and CEO of Cerico. So it's a skincare brand and I'm very happy to be here.
Please.
Hi, I'm Tushar. I am one of the co-founders at Perfora. We're building a safe and effective oral care brand and really happy to be here.
I am Utsav from Noise. Noise happens to be India's largest smartwatch company and world's third largest, in fact.
That's lovely. So we have another panelist joining us very soon. So we are, should we start? Okay, Piyush is there. So Piyush, you have your mic, I think, right there beside. Or do we have on the...
You might.
So just a quick introduction, like a 30-second or 20-second introduction.
Hi, Piyush Gupta here. I am from Gurgaon and I head a company called Wasmos. We are in the technology space. We are saying how can we take D2C brands, make it more experiential in the online space. So that's what we're doing more as we speak. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you, for giving a quick and a very quick introduction. So once we start, so I would like to know that when we talk about profitability, when we talk about businesses, lean operations is one area that we look forward to very thoroughly, because when we are, inducing or when we are giving out costings to this should go to this area, this should go to this area, reduce waste management or allocate to where capital is required. How important do you think lean operations is required in the entire system? Piyush, if we can start with you.
So my perspective will be very different because I'm not a D2C brand, but I'm supporting D2C brand. But just to kind of give an...
Because there's a lot of experiential area that you work upon, so I would actually like to know that from you.
So we, more than the profit part of, cost saving part of it, we see how do we make it more experiential for the customer so that the customer kind of is willing to buy more and, become a more repeat customer. That's the focus we kind of do it. But I think in the D2C space, what's the biggest advantage that we've seen is a lot of cost has gone down, right? A lot of supply chain cost has gone down. And because the consumer is expected to buy directly from you, right? You have a lot more control as a business owner, right? I'll pass it on to them for the rest of it because they can go in more detail. But I think that's the biggest advantage I see in the D2C space.
What's up?
Rima, I'll just start by giving you a little context and for everybody else. Today there is about 1,100 recognized D2C brands in the country, right? Out of those brands that have managed to hit scale, and by scale we could take a rudimentary benchmark of let's say $100 million in revenue. There's less than 10 such brands. When you talk about profitability, there is about 4 of them that are profitable, and there is just one out of those 4 that has continued to be bootstrapped, which is Noise. So for us to have understood the nuance that you have to be profitable and that's the right way to scale comes intrinsically. We keep talking about lean operations, we keep talking about keeping the setup, so to say, light. The reality is that these are questions that you have to answer at a very fundamental level, because frugality is a mindset. You can't necessarily say मैं ये चीजों पे cost बचाने वाला हूँ,
True.
right? By frugality, what you really mean is for you to prioritize what is essential for the business to scale up, and therefore what is everything else that can be held back for the near course of time once you've made enough money. Today the reality is, to that point, every startup, every D2C business that starts out wants to do everything by themselves. And in all fairness, there are now solution providers and tools that can be integrated for you to help scale where you don't necessarily have to do everything yourself. What is really important is to have a great product market fit and to have your ears to the ground in terms of understanding what the consumer really wants. If you're able to do those two things right, you could keep your operations light and help scale. Once you hit scale is when you can start prioritizing what else do you want to bring in your own fold and what do you want to keep outsourced.
True. Tushar, also Tushar, I would also like to know, like, how do you optimize the strategies when it comes to business processes in order, again, for lean operations, because a very smoother area is required on that space. If you can give
Yeah, of course we'll cover operations, because once you're starting, there are a lot of different avenues of the business where you try to bring about optimization. But since we're on operations, even when we started out, right, initially when you're starting out Shopify, probably doing a couple of in tens, or if you're lucky, like hundreds of orders. There was a call that even we had to take, whether we get our own warehouse or we work with an outsourced partner. That's what we did. And initially, even from the point of procuring the product that we had, because we don't manufacture it ourselves, we work with a contract manufacturer, you'd probably go with 500 or 1000 or 1500 quantities, and even he cannot give you a great price for that. So like really early on, you have to have some sense and some conviction. See, because when we launched a product, we also spoke and worked with 500, 700 potential customers to understand what is the gap, what is the price that will work. But throughout the journey, what we've seen is that once there is some semblance of a scale, your warehousing partner will give you a better rate. Your logistics and delivery partner will start giving you a better rate. You'll go to your manufacturer, you'll tell him, okay, I came with 1000 units, now I'm asking 10,000. So like I need a 20, 25, 30% discount. So I think for us, really early days, this is where the gross margin and the CM1 come into the picture, because your gross margin is the cost of the product that you're selling, and your CM1 covers your warehousing, your logistics, your packaging, even something as basic as packaging, right? If you want 1000 mono cartons versus 10,000 mono cartons, there is certain optimization that will come. Now, wherever earlier on, like as you know, he mentioned, if you're very finicky and there is zero money to burn, it will just extend the time, because then you cannot work with the second or the third vendor you go to. You will speak with 10 because you're really trying to optimize. But if speed is essence and you want to go to market very quickly, I think we just got started with what we had. We've changed the manufacturer, we've changed our packaging vendors, we've changed our warehouse in the last 2 years, and that happened because first you have to prove that a business can exist. In our case, that we had to do. Once we prove that, and once the customer support is the biggest one, right? If he's paying you revenue, then you know that you're sort
I'll
of
come to that very soon.
Yeah. But I think on specifically the operations bit, at procurement, at warehousing, at logistics, strategically the industry will give you benchmarks. What is a good percentage to operate at? And you know what your AOV is. For example, maybe our AOV is 1000, 1500, somebody sells a product for 5000, somebody's at 10,000. So then you also have to variously then differently figure it out for your specific industry, but having a direction and end goal in sight, and then you work towards it. And then that comes in sort of like a lot of different ways. Sorry.
It's okay. So, okay, Malvika, as we were also talking that yours a very new brand,
Right.
and you've also been the guinea pig of your own products. And as Tushar mentioned that, when there is a lot of orders coming in, then you have a proper inventory and so on and so forth. How do you manage operations on those lines to make sure that they are not bloated with additional costing to it?
Absolutely. So like add to Tushar's point, I think lean operations is something which needs to be built in very fundamentally into the brand, and that's what our vision also was. I mean, we're operating we're just 5 months old, and we're present across all marketplaces already, like Nykaa, Myntra, Flipkart, everywhere, and in spite of that, we're operating out of like only one warehouse. But we've made sure that the consumer experience in that is not hampered. So our logistics team and our shipping partners, the engagement with them is so strong that we're covering all pin codes of India. But fundamentally, we decided that the operations have to be very lean because we're also a bootstrap startup, and to scale up, we need to get to a sizable scale. We need to start with lean operations. And having said that, also to add to the point that, of course, when you start, you have all the industry benchmarkings. We've benchmarked all competing brands, and the industry gives you insights for everything. You literally, you talk to the consumer, and your brand gets a persona of the consumer. Your brand is the consumer, so to say. So, of course, having said that, we're also trying that to get into the system, and cost will be optimized as we grow, because of course we're also starting with smaller MOQs, smaller items. But as we grow, the cost for shipping, for manufacturing, for packaging, everything is going to be optimized as we move forward. So that's the goal, and I think we're already on it.
Perfect. So, Apoorv, similar for you, when you see there's a excess of demand, how do you make sure that your cost is on operational grounds, is on a balance?
Excess demand also, I think, specifically answering your question, excess demand is something that you have to predict, or at least take a conviction-based call on. Because if you sort of underestimate the demand, you will always sort of feel that, oh, we left the money on the table. So I think adding to the point made by the team at Noise, it's your ambition, the pace at which you want to achieve that ambition is very important, and you should have a very clear understanding of how soon do we want to get there. Acha, okay, this year, what is it that we really want to do? And you set a target for yourself. Demand can always come in, go out. I think there is no point in thinking so much about it. You take a call that we are doing XYZ number of units. You double down on trying to sell them, on making it available across channels and everything. And if still there is excess demand, you should have great relationships with your vendors. I think that's like super important. And excess demand ek din mein nahi aata hai. You'll actually get to know it 5, 7, 10 days prior that this is going to happen. That is when, in my opinion, relationships really come in handy. So good relationships is super important to sort of try and make sure that you don't fall flat during those times.
Understood. So Utsav, since a lot of ideation has been taken from you, one question I have for you is that when you come out with your products, so at that point of time, we look at, aligning price strategies in demand to how, because when we are selling the products or services, there is a particular cost product that you have to your own. At the same time, you look at consumer retention. You want consumers to be with you, to stay for long term. So you provide them with, post purchase, all configurations and everything. How do you maintain a balance when, especially we are talking about profitability? You need to retain consumers as well, but at the same time you need to make money out of it. You need to have profit out of it. How do you maintain that balance?
See, there are 3-4 parts here, to be honest. The first is the industry that you're operating in. There are some industries that are naturally conducive to a higher intake margin. For instance, a BPC product allows for a higher multiple, a tech product does not. Right? You just have to intrinsically understand the nuance of what is the industry that you're operating in, and therefore what your contribution margin 1 or gross margin will look like. The second bit is for you to understand the product itself. Do you have a non-differentiated product, or you have something which is a commodity? Because if it's a commodity, then it's going to be price for a product, and it's a race to the bottom. And that's where your sourcing, your relationships, your manufacturing, your vendors, etc. come into play. But if you've got a product that's differentiated, it allows you to charge a supernormal premium, or at least a delta over and above what the industry will offer you. The third bit really is to understand the market that you're operating in. How infested are the waters? Is it a highly competitive space that you're going after? You're going after a niche and you wish to operate within that. So whilst you will compromise on scale, you will maximize the profitability. And the fourth bit really is for you to understand that, am I trying to create profits today, or I am going to hit scale and then create profits? There are two very different aspects to how businesses approach it. Eventually determined by the vision of the founders, but you will have to keep these four in mind to determine how you price a product. Because pricing is not something determined by you alone. There are other forces at play that allow for the pricing to operate the way it is, because the consumer determines the price for you.
Right, the 4 Ps, that's very important to take in mind. Price, profitability.
Yes and no. I mean, it's not exactly the 4 Ps. I think it's more important for you to understand that as a business, I may choose to operate at a certain price, but that price is a determinant of what the consumer is willing to pay me, what my cost of sales are, what is my equation with the vendor that is, or the supplier that is manufacturing the products for me. So it's more the Porterian forces that determine the output for you as opposed to the 4 Ps.
Lovely. So, Piyush, in your case, since you spoke about experiential marketing, so that takes a very longer stage to it. When you are providing, along with products, you're also providing a service. How does it work for you when you come across, retaining the consumers for better satisfaction? There's a customer relationship that you build. How do you balance between aligning your products with the right pricing as well as retaining your consumers with loyalty programs as per se?
I'm glad you asked that. So, before we went into this whole space, I'll tell you what we are doing. So, we are building virtual stores. So, and this is for brands who've not reached 100 crores and all that, but the brands who are starting off, because people who've reached big, we all talk about it, but what to do with younger brands, people who are entrepreneurs wanting to get started, right? And we, as an entrepreneur, we want, can I have a physical store? That's always becoming very difficult, right? I'm sure everyone who's starting off would say, given an online store and a physical store, I would go with a physical store because I can kind of connect with my customer in a better way, right? That's becoming difficult because of the cost point of view. So what we're trying to do is, can we give similar experience in the online world? That's what we're trying to do. At a cost which is cheaper than making your website. That's how it is. If you have your product details, in about 45 minutes or so, you can have a virtual store where you can go in, create an immersive store. Your customer can start walking in, interacting with you. There is some bit of AI, bots, intelligence built in, so that the kind of information that you get about your customer is far higher than otherwise, right? In an e-commerce store, what you get is only people who buy your product, right? But in a virtual store or in a physical store, right, you get to know who's coming in, where they are spending time, which product they're liking and all that, right? So in our case, and also the reason is, if you look at it historically, why retail has worked. The experience part has always taken a bit, right? In the service industry, if you're talking about it, there's that retail service where you come in, how do you place your product, how do you put your brands in, which colors do you use and all that, so that you lure your customer accordingly, right? Which unfortunately in the e-commerce space, that's gone missing. Your brand loyalty, your customer experience, those are from a front end point of view. I'm sure from a back end, from a support point of view is right there. But from a front end point of view, it's gone down drastically. What has been the focus is, can I give the product at a discounted price, at an offer, whatever it is, right? So kind of get there. So one data point is about 25-30% of, maybe in these cases it's better, but in about 25-30% of the people return the product, right? Because you buy it with the mindset कि अच्छा अब ले लेते हैं, नहीं ठीक लगेगा तो वापस कर देंगे, because that's how the policy is. Because you're not interacting with the brand at all. The virtual stores that we're trying to create and give it to the brands is where the customer is able to connect with you, talk to you. So what we've seen is the return ratio has become much better, right? So all of that kind of also gives experience and the cost benefit that's coming along. We see that, honestly about at 2,000, 3,000 rupees a month, you can have a virtual store, right? And showcase your product, keep changing it every day, that today I want a different store looking, tomorrow I want a different one. You can do it yourself. So we are empowering the brands and to kind of keeping the customer at the center of it, not the brand, honestly, right? will the customer come in, and that's where the experience part is coming in from where we see it.
I am loving this because very soon I'll have this conversation with you because experiential marketing is what I think is one of the future trends that is we are going to witness along with AI, with the rise of AI. But I'll come to you on this. Coming to you, Malvika, similarly, as he mentioned, that experience has become very essential for consumers today. They want to interact with the brand. If you have not interacted, it doesn't work. But also brands now also want to interact with its audience to make them understand it better. How for you do you believe that when you speak to them, what experiences are in your head so that they are retained and also they buy the products at the price which is actually made, the pricing strategy is made with something in their mind. It's not even out of the box. But again, how do you retain those customers to increase a long-term relationship and to have that profitability mindset as well in your head?
Right. So see, now I think companies today have added another C to the C-suite, which is the consumers. Consumers are not any longer just the consumer is king. They're now stakeholders in the brand. They have voting rights, they have voices, everything is skewed to the consumer. So, of course, for us also the consumer experience, the consumer understanding is priority, and for a brand proposition like ours, which is so differentiated, I think it's very important that the consumer understands the brand first. And to retain, I think customer retention does not only come from physical experience of the product, which of course is very important, no denial in that. Even given that the category that we're operating in, the touch and feel of the product is which makes a lot of difference to the consumer. So which is why we're doing all these small offline events. We've already started with that. And, being placement in modern trades and offline spaces is also on the radar for the brand. Having said that, I think otherwise for customer retention, product efficacy, product differentiation, the offering of your product is what makes a lot of difference. So for us right now, so far, it's going good for us given that the consumers are actually relating to the problem. Psychodermatology is a problem which nobody can deny. Nobody can deny stress today. India is the stress capital of the world. And Indian working population is the most stressed working population in the world. So that's something which is absolutely undeniable, and I think most of you concur that your stress is showing up on your skin as various skin concerns. So when we communicate this to the consumer through our ads, through our Instagram, through our other handles, I think they relate to it, they instantly relate to it that yes, I have acne because of stress, I have pigmentation which is getting triggered because of stress. In fact, 60% of skin problems are triggered because of stress. And like a lot of people don't understand, your skin is the largest organ of your body. So if your heart, which is like one of the smallest organs, that gets affected by stress, you can have a heart attack because of stress. Why wouldn't your skin be affected because of stress? So consumers are relating to all this, they understand, and mental health, as it was a taboo before, it's not. Consumers are, I think there's a lot of talk about mental health now. People are more adaptive to acknowledging the issue of mental health, and the beauty space is actually now kind of moving towards wellness, overall wellness, holistic beauty. So we're on a quest to take actually holistic beauty one step forward by not just providing surface solutions, but also kind of taking care of the mind.
So the interaction helps, definitely.
Absolutely, it helps, and so that's what I mean. Providing innovative products and effective products is what I think is helping us retain our consumers.
Wonderful. Tushar, coming on to you, because these both things are very contradictory in nature when it comes to pricing as well as retaining consumers. Because consumers, since we are in India, we are trying to, even with the premium products, we first try to use it. Pehle istemal karo, fir vishwas karo. That works very well with Indians. So how do you look at it when it even comes to, again, profitability, when scaling your business right? How does this come in equation for your brand?
See, eventually we all build a plan at a particular selling price and where the cost has to sort of make sense. Yes, India is a price sensitive market, but India is also a value conscious market. The customer will pay for value. I think the challenge is how do you show him the value? He has to be convinced that there is value in this product, and that can be a journey. It's not necessary that it happens in the first conversation or the second conversation. I think all of us building brands here, we try and communicate with the customer on digital channels, be it social media. There are marketplaces, there are offline pop-ups, there is certain other events. There's a lot of content on social media via video. And what one tries to do is, of course, really make the problem statement as simple as possible, right? So of course, today if we have a product which is like an oral care toothpaste which is SLS free and paraben free, whereas the incumbents in the category do not provide that, we might have a slight premium to that, but also the premium exists because we do not have the efficiency in production. As and when scale grows up, we will be able to build that up, and so the pricing works both ways. Earlier on, you also want people who want to invest in a better product because then they will be your advocates as well. So I think that's how the life cycle of a brand works. You start initially, you cannot sell cheap because of course you might not be making profits on day zero, but you have a limit, like of how much you can sort of discount the product as well. So earlier on, the top 1, 2, 3% of the people, they see the product, they find value in it, they're seeing results. That is when they talk to their friends, their community about it. And then eventually, when the life cycle is going on, you'll reach a stage wherein you're also able to get to a level where you understand the customer better. If there are certain people, you talk to your customers, you get to know, okay, I have these 10 customers, they love my brand, they love what I stand for, but this price is not working for them. Then you go back to the drawing board and you try to make a new product. So, you try and pick up ingredients which still deliver on your brand promise. So the brand promise is important. Like for us, that is safe and effective. But how can we do that with, say, a more affordable product? But throughout this case, see, the gross margin is static, right? Like if you're doing a product which sells slightly cheap, you have to ensure that the cost is sort of intact there. So from a profitability lens, we've been tracking our gross margins, of course, since day zero. There is improvement, there is weakness. Like for example, months like October, everybody gets into the festive furore. You're open to sort of buying, and then an Indian customer is also expecting discount. Where's the deal? Where's the deal? So then, depending upon their mood, when they're in the mood for a deal, you have to give them a deal. But you know that, like for example, ours is an everyday product. They need it every month. So when the deal doesn't happen and they need the product, they'll sort of still come for it. But yeah, I think from a profitability lens, gross margins, you just keep a very keen eye on that and let that guide you.
Lovely. So Apurv, on the same line, since Tushar mentioned that the festive fervor is going on, I mean, we had the first phase with Dussehra, Durga Puja and Diwali, of course. And with a brand like Fool, you can also provide a lot of discounts, and during the festive season there's a lot of gifting opportunities that comes in. How do you maintain at that particular point when there's a festive season, people are looking for very handicrafted, very creative products which Fool does offer? How do you give out pricing points at that particular point, as well as also maintain a longer customer relationship with them?
I think we've not understood that completely yet, trying to get there every single year. But to be very honest, we have certain price points in our mind that this is, say, an XYZ price point that we want to offer our gift boxes or whatever it is to the consumers at. And then you simply have to do a back calculation, and then you also, again, I come back to that statement again, you have to have a conviction based prediction ki हाँ इतना तो कर लेंगे, and then you sort of try fitting in everything that you're procuring XYZ. You really try to squeeze the best possible costs right from your suppliers to your warehouses to your logistics to the people you hire. And I think for Fool, because gifting definitely is a big part of what we do, the planning and everything starts like way before, like about 4 or 5 months prior. So at scale, these things really start making sense. So I think we've managed to understand that a little well when we work with artisans, when we work with handicraft players, etc. At scale, things start making sense. That's how we've understood it. And also we've gotten better in terms of our marketing costs. I think as we all speak about profitability, the biggest problem to profitability in D2C space today is the marketing cost. So as long as you can keep a very strong, rein on it, and you know that, okay, fine, this is the amount of money that I'm willing to spend to get to an XYZ amount of revenue, and you really, have a hawk's eye on that, I think overall supply chain and everything can be managed and you can hit profitability or at least do well in terms of numbers during the festive times.
So, with all due regard to all of you, I think our customer retention is the utmost priority for all of you here. So, Malvika, being the lady in the panel and being an entrepreneur as well, how do you allocate your capital? How do you strategize that allocation of resources to the right places when it comes to either reducing waste or investing in the right business area where, or marketing or other areas? And being a very young entrepreneur, how do you allocate those resources in place?
Right. So I think it circles back to the same point, lean operations. So allocation of resources becomes optimized, one, through lean operations if you start with that on a very, in the starting initial stages. But also, yes, you have to, especially in this category where it's so saturated, you need to be continuously innovating. And we are a brand which believes in that. We want to provide innovative solutions to the consumer. So for growth initiatives, for new product development versus the marketing spend, because we also have to kind of educate the consumer about the concept first. So, the intention is to create a balance and kind of spend on, reduce your fixed costs. What we do right now with our team also is we have a very small team of, I would say, executionists, passionate executionists. So we're a very small team, and in fact, we have a very small office, very small team. And what we do usually is that we hire domain experts as consultants. So probably bi-monthly or something, we get a consultant on board to kind of give us their insights on their domain, whether it's marketing, whether it's performance marketing, or it's product development. So we get their insights on that, and then we, the executionists, execute that. So we're trying to kind of control manpower costs like that. Fixed costs also, so like I told you, I mean, warehousing is something that we've not rented many warehouses pan-India, although we're supplying to all PIN codes across the country. We're present on all marketplaces. In spite of that, we've managed to operate out of one single warehouse. So we're trying, given that we're very young, we're learning, we're trying to optimize our costs as far as possible.
Lovely. So, Tushar, in your case as well, how do you, where do you look at that, where to invest the right resources when it comes to, dealing with, not particularly, I would say, operations, but when it comes to, managing, because marketing is also a very area where founders and experts plan to spend on, because of course, jo dikhta hai wahi bikta hai. और जो ज़्यादा दिखता है, yesterday someone said in my panel, जो ज़्यादा दिखता है वो और ज़्यादा बिकता है. So how do you allocate your resources on those terms?
हाँ, जो ज़्यादा दिखता है वो ज़्यादा बिकता है as long as PMF is there, like the product, like otherwise it's just burning money through the, and because the initial numbers will come, but like we talk about retention. But anyways, on the topic about how we look at resources, see, it's been a journey as a core D2C brand which does not, what is our core skill as the core team, right? We know how to market and bring out the problem and then deliver on the solution. And when you look about marketing, there are two different functions there. So marketing, of course, encapsulates all of it, and then there's brand marketing and performance marketing. Really early on, first 2 years, of course, everything is performance, because if you're putting 1 rupee, you want 2, 3, 4, 5 rupee to come out immediately. Like you do not have, it's not like the incumbents HUL ITC that they run campaigns for 4, 5 years and then like it's just happening across the stream. So for us initially there was a lot of focus on performance marketing. That is where the first set of team members got built. It was important that we had the right people who understood Facebook, Google. We started with Amazon as a marketplace. It was very important to like understand that really well, because these are like fairly nuanced. And then you have certain other marketplaces which probably are not that technical, but they're more sort of relationship driven. This then evolved to more to a brand marketing, wherein the focus shifted to both NPD. See, because the new product development is actually inherently a brand and a customer role. the deeper you understand your customer, the deeper you understand the problems existing out there, the better you can go back to the drawing board, build a solution, and then when I talk about brand marketing, content, and I think I've said this a few times before, that as a consumer brand, we are consumer brand second and a content company first. As a consumer brand, you want to capture customers' mind share. Now, all of us have thousands of things going on in our lives, right? Right, from our work or stuff in family or friends. So there's very limited mind share. And like we as brands think that, you know, they'll be thinking about us. Honestly, they don't. But as a brand marketer, your job is that how can you create that relevancy? How can you hit those points wherein the customer has to just remember you? And not like, oh, he's thinking about performer, but the moment he sees you, there has to be a good sort of emotion that he has to feel, because that is when a buying decisions happen. There are a lot of things, right? Of course, there's price, there's what does the person think about the brand, whether the person needs that specific product or not. So I think from a resource shift, now is when a lot of focus is happening on new product development and brand marketing as resources, wherein we are also spending a lot of our time. And as Apoor said, digital, like marketing digitally, spending digitally, it's the most uncertain thing, because you can never, like the algorithms can surprise you every now and then. You'll have 2 fantastic months, you think that you figured it out, and then the 3rd month you'll have just like the most terrible month ever, and then you're like I don't know what sort of needs to happen here. So we've also diversified now. As a consumer brand, channel diversification is important. Quick commerce, the likes of Blinkit, Zeptos have become very important for us. We are now in about 1,000+ stores across the country. Pharmacies as a place, you know. So the one good thing about offline is getting in is hard, but then you don't have to pay every month. Digitally, when you sell, there's Facebook, Google tax every month. It doesn't matter. Does not matter. You have to pay that tax every single month. So offline, again, from a revenue, from a sales perspective, is where we are building up resources, we are building capabilities, and yeah, that's the stage.
I think profit is coming, still coming. You're investing, so profit is coming.
Offline, you see, typically you go to a store, right? The first 3 months, the store will be like, why should I keep you? You give me money, I'll keep you. Fine, you give them money, you're not making money. Then the next 3 months, he's like, okay, अच्छा, sale is coming. चलो ठीक है, थोड़ा सा break even हो रहा है. And then the 7th month onwards, you're like, I'm not paying for visibility. Product is selling so much.
That's an honest answer. That's a brutally honest answer you have given.
See, but like, which is what I'm saying, offline, the 7th month I don't have to pay. Facebook, Google, we're paying for the last 2 years. That doesn't stop.
Lovely. So, Utsav, Noise being one of the most premium brands when it comes, everyone in the market is aware about Noise. So, and you plus have a market of your own. There are customers of your own. There is a data of your own. How do you allocate your resources when it makes, I mean, how important does the need of financial sustainability requires in Noise?
See, let's be real, the larger you get, the worse it gets for you.
I'm loving this panel today.
But to be honest, I think you need to look at costs from a few bucketed lenses, right? There is cost that goes towards working capital. There is cost that goes towards marketing, which of course we've deliberated long enough to know there's brand and there is performance, and we've been guilty of paying more taxes than spend on brand marketing, but that happens, right? That's real, because you need to prioritize working capital. So yes, performance is over-indexed, and you gradually realize that there is a disproportionate disadvantage to marketing spends as you grow. But that, and then there is a third bucket, which is essentially establishment cost. It's essentially paying towards people, paying towards building infrastructure that we're talking about. See, what we've learned is do what you do best and outsource the rest, right? It has served us well, because when you come to think of it, performance marketing is a variable spend. The establishment cost is the holy grail, because whether it's working capital or marketing, those spends can still be controlled and attributed to every unit that gets sold. Therefore, invest at the right time in the right resources who help you scale up. And whilst at the outset, that's the cost that starts pinching you, but that's the cost that really helps you scale. So long as you're able to account for that, I think it's fine. Since we segued into marketing, I can tell you out of experience that scale was our biggest marketing lever. Today, nearly 1 out of one out of 4 smartwatches that sell in the country is a noise. And that has allowed us the visibility by touching as many lives that even though we spend less than 0.5% on brand marketing, people still know of the brand and then they come and ask for it. So I don't think there is one set recipe or a playbook to follow. The cost that a business needs to account for, budget for, plan for at the outset really is the cost towards establishment. Finding the right set of people who are willing to buy into the vision of the business and help you scale at the right time. That's the only cost that you have to worry about because everything else then pays for itself.
Lovely. So, Apur, since we are talking about the investment of allocation of resources, with Fool also, you are very much there on the digital area as well. Like I keep on getting ads of Fool that okay, buy it from here on Instagram. So how much are you indulged into social media? Because I think that is one of the major aspects that you prefer in allocating your resources and promoting your products. How does that work for you?
No, are you asking me?
Allocation of resources plus how much is the investment in social media maximizing
see,
it?
the answer is very contextual. I mean, the way we look at it is कि मेरी आज की सच्चाई क्या है और मेरे कल के ख्वाब कितने हैं. I mean, it's literally that way that we look at it. That what is it that you have today? I mean, see, the answer might differ for everyone on this panel. The scale at which you're operating, what is the target that you have set for yourself, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year down the line, what is the plan you have? Very honestly, also thinking about how is the space looking. I mean, I don't want to sort of get into that right now, but we know that there's been a downturn in funding, XYZ, so on and so forth. One should take a very prudent call on how and where those resources need to be pushed in. Basis, again, as I said, aaj ki sachchai, kal ke khwab. So while we double down on social media, on digital media, XYZ, we do it when we know that we have something which the consumer wants immediately. So gifting becomes a very big opportunity for us. And in that we, again, we have performance marketing, we have branding, XYZ, but so far we've not invested very heavily in branding as such because we've believed whatever we've done in the form of performance marketing has helped us in some sort of a residual branding. And that works out for Fool as a brand because the story itself is such that if you were to interact with our brand at any touch point, you will get to know about the story, the people behind it, the cause, so on and so forth. And that becomes a sticky factor for people, right? We do invest very heavily in understanding what sort of ads would work, what sort of communication would work. So you'll see our performance marketing ads would not look anything like how our social media looks like. So while we actually went to the artisans, we saw how they make the products, we've made reels around it, XYZ, and we realized that that is what people really like to see. So take it in isolation, we did a reel about how a particular inclusion in our gift box was made. I don't think from a very gifting perspective people would say that this makes sense. But from a perspective of people interacting with acha theek hai koi cheez aise banti hai, it's interesting to see that process and all of those things. People enjoyed it. It was one of the most well performing sort of reels and all that we had. So that's how we look at it. I mean, we don't necessarily put our entire might in allocation with respect to allocation in marketing budget. We take a call based on what our targets are.
So research, I would say, is one area that you heavily look at?
We do, but our research is also in two factors. There's a research that we do for a new product development that we are doing, which is not D2C at all in its nature. And then apart from that, new product development is something that keeps on going at full.
Okay. So, Piyush, I am very intrigued with you telling me that you have brought in virtual reality to your services and products. So, AI and experiential marketing is something we are looking at very strongly. So, how does the allocation of resources, because AI is also not very cheap, as we may say, it is helping, it has become an enabler, but how do you allocate, because of course, meeting the consumer, selling your products at a particular point, using technology, and it will continue to rise. Like a lot of them also said that, technology comes, I mean, it's evolving. So it's every 3 months, technology is evolving and it's going faster than humans, to be honest on that. So how are you planning to leverage those technologies and also allocate your resources at the same time, at the same points for profitability?
I think profit becomes a key here, right?
Absolutely.
So, again, I'll give a different perspective to it. The thing is, what we tell our customers, which is a D2C brand, is you focus on the product, we'll get you a customer, right? Which means that what it helps is, when we work with multiple D2C brands, right, it helps us to keep our tech, evolving on a regular basis whom we are working with. So for example, we have a data science team and an AI team which kind of continuously works on the patterns, the consumer behaviors, both online, offline. And now, because we are studying it, it goes not to one brand, it goes to multiple brands who can use it, right? For example, the store has an AI component to it, the virtual store, which is not only for us, which any brand can come and use it, right? Understand how my customer is behaving and allocate your marketing resources accordingly. That's there, right? So our aim is that, what you're good at, do that. We'll do the rest for you, right? From the point of, you have a product, how do you get your first 50 customers is something we kind of, work with brands to get there, including artisans. Puru's been talking about artisans and all that. I think that aspect of building that brand where you are talking about how the product is made is one aspect of it, and that kind of generates the emotional quotient which one of you mentioned, right? That connects with the brand, right? But how do you kind of sell it becomes a little different, and how do you show your product? I'm glad everyone spoke about experience, storytelling, and building a brand, because a lot of times what we've seen is the younger brand gets, while they wanted the fight or the struggle between selling and creating a brand, profit and investment, generally profit, trying to say, okay, can I sell first and create a brand later, and then you get into that rat race of, okay, let me just keep selling, will help look at the brand. And what you've also seen is, what it does is, after a point, some other player has come in, the loyalty is not there, customer has shifted to other brand. Because what you've done is, you've got to a nice cycle of selling, right? But after that, what you've missed in that journey is, I've not created a brand. Why would a person stick to us, right? And that's where we are trying to help, younger startups who are saying, okay, I have a good product. How do we kind of balance your investment in the right way so that you get your first set of customers, and also you do the right storytelling so that the brand is getting built, and focus on the repeat customers. That's something which we kind of work on. How many are coming back? Why are they coming back? Why is someone not coming back? That's where we focus on more and more, using tech and everything otherwise, and then we let the product be in charge, let the entrepreneur be in charge of the product and the market fit. Right? That's how we approach.
Lovely. Thank you so much, all the panelists. But before we end the panel, before we close the panel, I just want you all to give one line of your thought in pursuit of profitability. So Tushar, if we may start with yourself.
One thing that I actually heard and I want to add was, one thing that we are also now putting resources in is finance and accounting. So for the longest period, you read about working capital and EBITDA profitability. Both are very different things. You could be EBITDA profitable, but working capital would be really bleeding your business out. So, a lot of various variables come into the picture, which we understood to some extent, but now from a finance point of view, we're sort of trying to get that. I think, yeah, that is in our aspect, where you have to see cash eventually is king. Every time, if you look at any bigger consumer brand also, cash flow dictates everything. If you have cash flow, and that cash flow, you could have sold maybe material worth 1,000 rupees, but if only 100 is hitting the bank in this month, and then other money is hitting much later, then how are you going to build it out? So I think cash flow profitability is what we are focusing on, and I would want to leave like my last thoughts with here.
Thank you. Utsav?
I think if you get your first principles right, you'll always focus on a profitable business, and that's when it becomes an investable business. So don't hedge your bets that somebody will come and bail you out. Think of building a solid foundation, and you will find partners who will invest in the business.
Thank you. Malvika?
I think I completely concur with that. I was about to say that maximization of value is what the focus should be. Maximization of value for the investor, for the consumer, and for the business. So that is what our focus is, and that's what I think should be the focus.
Apoor?
Yeah, I mean, in D2C, buzzwords come and go, but profitability is not a buzzword anymore. It's like it's the gospel truth for all of us. And truth be told, as Tushar said, let's be honest with ourselves. We don't understand finance, accounting, and all of those things. Bring someone who does. Make sure that he or she has the absolute freedom to sort of tell you what is right and what is wrong. And then let them also be sort of, your guiding lights rather than just mad ambitions is what I would like to tell everyone.
Thank you. Piyush, last thoughts?
Don't get an investor. Don't let investor run your business. You run your business. Profit is the key. Start small. Scale will happen. Good thing is we are in a country where scale is not a problem. But don't let investor guide your business is what I would leave it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, all of you, to have such an amazing panel. I really had a gala time. Truth bombs
Thank you.
being shared here. And I had a nice audience. We had a lovely audience. Thank you all for being so patient. Thank you so much. Mr. Ravi, you can continue now.